Alright everyone, what we're going to be doing today is rational equations. This is going to be solving for x in an equation. Before we start, I just want to say there are multiple ways that you can do this. One of them is actually typing in a Desmos and figuring out the solution, but I'm going to show you the algebra way because a lot of you are going on a pre-calc or math 4 or something like that. You're going to need to know this for pretty much everything. So let me show you how I do it. It's the shortest way, in my opinion. And I think you'll see this is actually kind of fun, but we'll see. All right, first thing I'm going to do, this minus 1 here, I'm going to rewrite it as plus 1 or plus negative 1, and I'm going to rewrite it as plus negative 1 over 1. Okay, you need to understand that negative 1 can be rewritten as a fraction. All right, the next step here is to figure out the common denominator. Okay, so only looking at the denominators, make sure you know that these are factors. Okay, well, let's make this plus negative 6x as well. Knowing that these are factors, our common denominator is going to be x minus 7, right? Now, this next step is going to be very weird. I'm telling you, you're going to think I'm absolutely bonkers, but let me show you. I'm going to multiply everything on the top, only the numerators, by the common denominator. X minus 7, x minus 7, x minus 7. Now, look at what happens. On the top and bottom here, I have an x minus 7. So, these are actually going to cancel out. This one is not going to cancel. This one is going to cancel. Now I have no denominators, okay, because this one actually doesn't really matter. So let's look here. We have 3 plus negative 1 times x minus 7 equals negative 6x. Huh? No denominators. All I did was multiply the numerator by the common denominator. Okay, so now I have 3 plus negative x minus or plus 7 equals negative 6x. Now I'm going to get all my x's on one side and all my numbers on the other side. So here I have 10 minus x. I'm just doing a bunch of unnecessary steps, but it's fine. And now I'm going to add x to both sides. And I'm going to get 10 equals negative 5x. And then divide by negative 5. All right, so x equals 10 divided by negative 5, which is negative 2. Okay, another thing that we need to check for here is a thing called an extraneous solution. Okay, an extraneous solution. So it's a number that makes the denominator 0 at any point during your solving process. So let's look over here. The only number that would ever make my denominator 0 is 7. So if I got x equals 7 as an answer, I would have to reject that answer and say, no, that's not possible. Because remember, if we type in anything divided by 0 in the calculator, it says error. I don't understand what you're talking about. So since this is negative 2 and not positive 7, this is good. So let me just write a little note. X equals 7 would not have worked. Don't really need to know that for this particular problem, but perhaps for another problem. Hint, hint, hint. Okay, so let's look down here. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to plus negative x and change this to x over 1. All right, this is x plus 2. Now, looking at the denominators, I have 1 and x plus 2. Okay, so hopefully you can see that my common denominator here is going to be x plus 2. So what I'm going to do is my crazy thing, which is multiplying everything on top by x plus 2. You can only do this because of the equal sign. That's the only reason that you can do this, because this is essentially doing nothing to my problem. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cancel out the ones that have x plus 2. All right, so now I have x times x plus 2 minus or plus negative x minus x equals 2. Look how easy this problem just became. All right, now we have x times x which is x squared, x times 2, which is 2x. Alright, and since this has x squared in it, unfortunately we're going to have to do some factoring, so let's combine these and subtract our 2 over. X squared plus 2 minus 1 is 1, so 1x, and then minus 2 equals 0. Alright, there's a 1 in front of this, so we're going to do 1 times negative 2. I want two factors of negative 2 that add to give me 0. Okay, so let's think about, or not 0, sorry, 1. 1, because there's a 1 in front of there. Come on now, these ones. Alright, so this is going to be 2 and negative 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. So I'm going to rewrite this as x plus 2 times x minus 1 equals 0. And then the shortcut to factoring here is you ask yourselves, what would make these 0? So it's going to be x equals negative 2 and x equals 1. Now, before you move on, let us look and see what would be an extraneous solution. New vocabulary, woohoo! Alright, extraneous solutions is what makes the denominator 0 at any point in your problem. So look up here. What would make this denominator 0? I wonder. Okay, the only thing that would make this equal to 0 is negative 2 plus 2, which would give you 0. So if x equals negative 2 is an answer, I need to reject that, okay, because it is extraneous. Extraneous. Alright, and look down at our answers. You can see that x equals negative 2 is one of our answers. So I need to reject this. So my only answer is x equals 1. That is the only answer that works in this problem. Because at the very beginning, that would be something that does not exist. Okay, so let's move on to our third example here, and this is our last example for the day. Alright, first thing that I'm going to do is rewrite this as 2 over 1. Alright, 2 over 1. And now I'm going to look and see what my denominators are. However, notice that this thing is not factored, so what I need to do is factor that bad boy first. Okay? First thing you want to look at whenever you're factoring is, can I pull anything out? Yes, yes you can. Both these have an x in it, so I'm going to do x. X squared divided by x is just x. Negative 3x divided by x is negative 3. So that is going to become x times x minus 3. Alright, this one has a 1, this one has an x minus 3, and this one has an x times x minus 3. So if I were doing it the old-fashioned way, I would multiply this one by x over x, and I would multiply this one by x times x minus 3 times x minus x over 3. X times x minus 3. Okay, so what my common denominator here would be is x times x minus 3, this whole thing. So I'm going to multiply everything on top by x minus 3. X minus 3. X minus 3. Right? Now I can cancel stuff out on the top and the bottom. Nothing is going to cancel out here. The x minus 3s are going to cancel out here, and the x and x minus 3 are going to cancel out there. Okay, so now reading only across the top, we have 2 times x minus 3 plus 7 times x equals 1. Okay, now I just have to multiply things. 2 times x is just 2x. I'm being really slow. You guys can go much faster than this. 7 times x is 7x. And now I'm going to distribute 2x squared minus 6x plus 7x equals 1. Oh, you guys can't see anything. Alright, and now I'm going to combine my like terms, and unfortunately I'm going to have to bring that 1 over because I'm going to have to factor. So this is going to be 2x squared. Negative 6x plus 7x is positive 1x, and then minus 1 equals 0. Alright, unfortunately I cannot get rid of the 2 in front of the x squared, so we're going to have to do a really fun little factoring detour here. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, And I want 2 factors of -2 that add to give me 1. Okay, so ends up being the same thing that we did before. 2 factors of -2 that add to give you 1 are +2 and -1. Don't you dare say this is x plus 2 times x minus 1, because it is not. So let's rewrite it. 2x squared. This is going to be rewritten as 2x plus -1. So plus 2x, or I'm actually going to put minus x minus 1. And now I'm going to factor by grouping. Ooh, factor by grouping. Hey, these both have a 2 and they both have an x, so I'm going to pull out a 2x. Alright, whenever I take a 2 and one of the x's out of here, I'm going to be left with 1x. Whenever I take a 2x out of there, I'm only going to be left with the number 1, because it takes out everything. Now, if you get to the second part and there's a negative at the front, go ahead and pull that negative out. So this is -1. Alright, and these don't have anything in common except for 1, so that's why I pulled out the 1, and now this is going to become x plus 1 equals 0. You know you did the problem right if these two things match, and they do. So that's good. And our answer is just going to be the thing I highlighted, so x plus 1, and then your two other numbers here, so 2x minus 1. 2x minus 1 equals 0. And now my real answer here, so my number that works, is going to be whatever makes these 0. So one of them is going to be x equals -1. But the other is going to take a little bit of solving. So this is probably the longest problem that you could ever possibly have. We're going to have to do 2x minus 1 equals 0. So I'm going to have to add the 1 to both sides. You get 2x equals 1. And then I have to divide by 2. So x equals 1/2. All right, the only number that would not work in this problem, actually there's 2 numbers that would not work. That would be extraneous solutions. It would be 0, because this is x plus 0, that would make that 0, and +3. So extraneous would be x cannot equal 0, and it cannot equal +3. But notice these are not numbers that interfere with our problem. So our answers are -1 and 1/2. All right, today, I think it's fun, but you guys probably won't think it's fun because I think it's fun. Please let me know if you're having any problem with it all, and I will help you out gladly. So just message me and remind. I can even send you a detailed solution if you want. Okay, so please let me know, and yeah, be safe. Have a nice day. Goodbye.